It was frighteningly similar and yet very real. One by one, she replaced some pictures on the wall, changing them to the new accepted clothing that this new world order was telling her she had to accept. She knew it would be a while before her children would have to start back to school again, with radiation still high in the area, but eventually it would happen. She told her youngest son one night, "You'll have to start wearing your sister's clothes because when we all can leave and start back to how it was, things wouldn't be the same ever again." He didn't understand any of it. He was not only too young, but because of the exposure of radiation, he'd probably end up having autism over the time he grew up, so in some ways, it was the best thing to happen to him, she thought. The girls already wore dresses, they knew what it was about. But convincing them to accept some of the other radical philosophies they were preaching was hard to swallow. This idea that now all people would have to accept this Muslim rhetoric called Sharia law, that girls would be submissive to men and they no longer would have the option to voice their own opinions, wasn't something she would sit for. But as things progressed globally, she knew it was going to be hard living this way. Islam was something that people had begun hearing about during the 1970s when they began committing acts of terror at the Olympic Games in Munich, Germany. Then, other acts followed, like the hijacking of a TWA airplane in 1981, where they wanted to be flown to Lebanon from New York City or they'd blow up the aircraft. She didn't even recognize this New World Order leader, calling himself Barack Hussein Obama. The first time she heard his name, she thought this whole New World Order is a radical Islamic takeover of America. She was so right. He himself having an Islamic name and the fact that he preached National Socialism was 2 points against him already. She saw it, no one else did in the entire nation. On the news every night, she'd see and hear millions cheering him and literally putting their heads to the ground in homage to him. It seemed like how the Nazis saw Adolf Hitler. Every day his words were idolized by the masses who attended his speeches. They kept yelling at the top of their lungs, "Hail Hitler," now though it was "Hail Obama." By this time, the radiation was beginning to drop to more tolerable levels and adults at least could leave their homes. Children still were quarantined in their homes until they could be tested for radiation exposure limits. Young children like hers were much too susceptible to radiation, but she could go out for limited exposure to get food or work. She saw many of the things they talked about on television everywhere now. One day, she was at the supermarket and they asked her if she had the mark to buy food with. She said she didn't know what they were talking about. The manager at the store said it was a new requirement, everyone would have to be marked in order to buy groceries. She said she'd listen for it on the way home on her radio and then try finding out more information. That night, on television, they showed a type of machine called a kiosk. It had a laser machine that would imprint a mark either on your forehead or right hand. She didn't want to even consider it, but this global leader said that all who wished to remain free and work would have to, otherwise they'd be arrested. Another point was that those who professed to being Christians would also be arrested on sight. Islamics and other religions would not be under this stipulation. She was a Methodist herself and she knew the Bible had talked about this many times. It frightened her that she would have to do this. What would she do now? Take the mark and live, her children too? Or would she stand against this tyrant and go to prison for believing who she trusted, the Lord Jesus Christ? She would have to do something soon. Though the nuclear event did alter America's position in the world, it was a larger group that changed the equation for how the world would see itself in the global view of future dominance. The Illuminati, the Bilderberg Group, Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals were all beacons of light to wake up the world to what their intentions were and still are to this day. Americans still sleep, thanks to Obama's ongoing legions of democratic socialists who control our lives right now. If America is to survive the next 4 years, we must stand with President Trump united in our endeavors to keep America free, resist oppression from Obama's socialist regime, abolish homosexuality and its immoral ideals, stop murdering unborn babies and using their bodies for lab rat subjects. It's all Nazi Germany again. This time, they have the upper hand.
Negro College Fund helps turn dreams into achievements. We want to give our best and the
Imagine a miracle of space and time. Imagine yourself transported from Earth to Jupiter. 400 million miles in just 60 exciting days. Impossible? Not if you're on the new queen of the White Star Lines, the incredible Arcturus. And right now, 3,000 lucky passengers are on board the maiden voyage to the Jupiter States. But a few openings still remain for the second extraordinary cruise. Won't you join us? Just contact your travel agent or nearest White Star office for reservations. Arcturus.
Instead of America. We must think of the implications of this philosophy. They kill without thinking, we think and are killed for thinking the wrong way, it never ends. If we do anything, we must stand together against what is being forced on us. If we can't think for ourselves, if we are seen as criminals because of what we think of or about, there's no way of protecting our rights to be human either. ABC has brought you a story that explains many things about past, present, and future events. What happens next is up to you to decide. We hope there is a nation left to make its own decisions, a nation of free-thinking people who can make their own decisions. Not socialists telling us we must think as they say or our free thought is illegal. That is freedom, standing against oppression. Fight to live or die in your seats. The end or the beginning.
Miss Jones, take a letter. Mr. Otto Finley, Finley Ironworks. Dear Otto.
Time was when women were confined to certain less physical types of jobs, and often they had back problems. But today, it's different.
Mr. Smith, take a letter. Ray Blanchard, Blanchard Computer Corporation.
A woman can do just about anything she wants, and that means equal pay for equal work, and equal pain for equal work, because she still has back problems. What it all amounts to is a more active and independent woman has to pay more attention to her health. The American Chiropractic Association and your family doctor of chiropractic remind you that everyone has an equal right to health, but you have to exercise it. To safeguard your abilities, have health examinations, including those of your back and spine, on a regular basis.
Later tonight on 2020, Barbara Walters will be interviewing Saddam Hussein, Iraqi president, on his views of future socialists in the United States. Will Barack Hussein Obama globally control the world, or will there be a United Nations to control free thought? All this and more, next following station identification. Check local listings on most of these ABC stations for time and channel in your area.
Go, I say go away. You bother me.